Hello! Sorry. Welcome to the video. I did have a grand plan today to review a whole bunch of American single malts, but I have run out of time, so we're going to push that off until next week, and instead we're doing some single malt Scotch whiskey reviews from a kind of under-discussed and very interesting producer, namely the Speyside Distillery. And then you say, oh, so it's from an undisclosed source? And then I say, no, it's from the Speyside Distillery. Yes, you just said that, but which one? I just told you, the Speyside Distillery. What? Wait, let's start over. Is this whiskey from the Speyside region in Scotland? Kind of. What? You just said it was. What do you mean, kind of? Well, the distillery, it's technically way to the southwest of everything else in the Speyside. It's really west of the big park, the Cairngorm Park, which is technically the region's southern border. It's really closer to Dalwhinnie in the Midlands. And you say, oh, okay, so wait, so the source isn't Speyside after all. No, it is. You just said it was more like the Midlands. If it's Speyside, which one? What do you mean, which one? The Speyside Distillery. That's what I'm asking. Which Speyside Distillery? The Speyside Distillery, although it's not that clear it's actually Speyside. That makes no sense. Look, let's start over again. Are these malts from, say, Glenfarclas? No. Macallan? No. Do we know where they're from? Yes. Good. Now we're getting somewhere. Please tell me the name of the distillery that made these malts. The Speyside Distillery. So we don't know the name. No, we do. It's on the label. The label says the Spey. Yes, that's the name they use. So the distillery's name is the Spey. It's Speyside. You just told me it technically wasn't from the Speyside. It is. Look, is this an older distillery? No, it's actually from one of the newer distilleries in Scotland, although from before the kind of current batch. Okay. Is this from Badenoch? No. Dalwhinnie? No. It's a little older than them. The Speyside Distillery started distilling around 1990. They spent a long time building it. Oh, so it's Kinninvie? No, I keep telling you it's Speyside. Kinninvie is in the Speyside. So it's Speyside and started up in 1990, but it's not Kinninvie. Yes, although the Speyside isn't technically in the Speyside. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Okay, let me try to sum this up. These whiskeys are from the Speyside Distillery, which started up around 1990, that isn't really in the Speyside and sells whiskey as the Spey, but that's not their name. Exactly, you got it. I have no idea what I just said. So let's start drinking. And curtain. Thank you for humoring me. I couldn't resist. Okay. So, the Spey. We have got Fumare, which is the peated version, and Trutina, which is the unpeated version. Both of these are cask strength. Both of these are batch 3. So, Speyside Distillery. It's really kind of cute. It's go look at pictures of this thing. It's a tiny distillery, 2 little stills. You're not going to find a whole lot of whiskey from them, but it's out there, and I thought it would be fun to try some. These are not age stated. The Trutina says it's aged in bourbon casks and batch 3, non-chill filtered. That's nice. Nothing really much else mentioned. The Fumare does say smoky and peaty, and that it is somewhere in here. Where the hell did I say it? Yes, matured using peated barley, which I'm assuming means they just used peated barley to mature this, but I'm not completely sure. Anyways, these are not very expensive. In fact, they are some of the cheapest cask strength official bottlings I've ever seen in my life, which is kind of why I got curious about them. So let's try them out. All right, we're going to start with the Trutina, batch 3, 59.1% alcohol. I need some water first, actually. That little skit took a little bit out of me. Okay. The Spey from Speyside Distillery. On the nose. So I have never sat down and actually watched a Gordon Ramsay show in my life. But if you'll forgive me, it's raw. It's effing raw. Like I'm sure this did go into barrels for 3 years minimum, but boy, it does not smell like it. Like this is very, very, very new Mickey. This is mashed apple and pears, flowers, like freshly diced potatoes, really. Some lemon peel. Yeah, more flowers. A little bit of kind of a off-notey ethanol-y note. More headsy than fainty, maybe. There's some kind of unripe fruits going on, maybe unripe strawberry. Most of this is fruit mash and, potatoes and stuff. Cream of wheat, no sugar, no butter, just cream of wheat and water. Yeah, this is... I'm struggling to find cask influence on this. This is pretty raw. Not undercooked. This is effing raw. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. On the palate. Palate is better than the nose. There's a little bit of a touch of wood influence coming through here. A little bit of vanilla, a little bit of like a black tea leaf thing. But this is still just very, very, very undermatured. Very new makey. Cream of wheat. Floral stuff. Dried flowers, but also a kind of like laundry detergent kind of thing. That kind of diced raw potatoes thing again. That kind of like, fresh distilled new makey ethanol-y off notes, I should say. I'm trying to think of good things. I like the fruity aspect of it. There's some like I feel like I'm chewing on, when I put strawberries in my daughter's lunch, I'm always left with I always chop off the heads, the leaves and the white part. I feel like I'm chewing on those a little bit. That's not too bad. There's a little bit of citrus, lemon, lime, peel. But yeah, I'll give this some water and come back to it. But I gotta say, this is not what I wanted from this. And that's a huge bummer. Like, what do I want to do on this channel? I want to be able to put bottles on the screen in front of you that maybe you've never heard of. Maybe you walked past in the shop and you said, I don't know anything about that. I'm going to skip it. I want to put those bottles in front of you and taste them and be able to tell them after fair evaluation, you know what? These are pretty damn good. These are worth your time. You should seek these out as opposed to, the big names, the normal stuff you happen to buy. In this case, no. Really, no. I want to be able to champion the Speyside Distillery. Which one? The Speyside Distillery. I'll stop. I promise I'll stop. Because they're cute and they're small and they're obscure. They're in that sort of batch of post-war distilleries right before the rush of new stuff. They're pre-Aran. Just a couple of years pre-Aran. I want to be able to point to this and tell you it's good, and it just isn't. I really feel like this should have never been released. It really, that's hard words, but yeah. I mean, the quality of the spirit is pretty good. It just needs more time. Okay, that is a rough beginning to the Spey episode. Let's move on to the smoky and peaty Fumare. Also batch number 3, 57.5%, so a hair bit weaker. Is it just me or the color? It's hard to tell in this light, but I think the color is a hair bit lighter, which is a little scary. But on the nose, immediately things are far better, considerably better. I mean, it's not a super duper complicated profile. And to be honest, this is a little bit raw too, but not anywhere near as much. And most of what this is doing is just the standard formula of peat plus bourbon cask. And that's a formula that is pretty much always going to work. Anyone can crank that out, and it's going to be pretty delicious. And it smells pretty darn delicious. Interesting. I wonder where they're getting the peat from. It doesn't smell... I do think they're using their own peated barley because there's it doesn't have the kind of surface quality that a lot of the just stuff aged in peated whiskey casks has. It feels like it's permeated the spirit a little bit. Although we'll try it on the palate. It's a twiggy peat. It's we're in the territory of like, this is more Talisker peat than it is like Isla peat. There's a little hint of maritime in there, a little hint of like of sea briny air, but not much. This is really much more about like sort of burned twigs, a couple of leaves, and also the peat. Of course, it's not huge peat. We're at like Bowmore levels here, but you notice it. And then there's vanilla. Some florals on this too. I don't know if this is actually that much older, but it feels more mature. It feels much more, like it's had its the time it needs. Okay, so there is a little bit of like an apple thing creeping in. What kind of apple? Kind of like a starchy apple. It's not a sweet apple, but it's also not a sour apple. It's a starchy apple. Hint of kind of a nice oatmeal-y thing. What is that? There's some kind of... It's oatmeal, but it's got an unusual sweetener, like... what is that? Like Caro syrup, the dark one. A little bit of that, but nice. Touches of cinnamon, vanilla, of course. A little bit of a baking spice nutmeggy kind of thing. It's not super duper complex. It still smells a little young, but man, do I prefer this nose to the first one. On the palate, thank God. Thank God. I was about to give up on this episode entirely after this first bottle. This is okay. Again, this is not the kind of malt, unless you've never had a peated malt before in your life, this is not the kind of malt that is going to change your life. But first impression, this tastes like a good, honest peated malt, bourbon barrel aged expression. Not a ton to it. I mean, you can tell it's high proof but there's a little bit of a thinness, almost a wateriness to this, which is a little bit weird. Holds together pretty well. There's a little touch of raw potato in this, I'm not going to lie. Just a touch. But yeah, it works. Twiggy peat. Lots of twigs and leaves. You got your peat. Got a little spritz of sea air, but not nearly as much as you would get with Islay. Flowers, vanilla, cinnamon. Some afternoon tea with a couple of lumps. And there's not a whole lot else to it. Hold on. One more time. What am I not talking about? Oh, there's a little bit of that kind of starchy apple kind of thing, or maybe it's like an apple that you ate a little bit unripe, but it still tastes like an apple. I'm sure this isn't actually older than this, but maybe the peat or just better casks is kind of hiding more problems. This is okay. I don't mind having this in the cabinet, and I'd have to double check on the price of this. But if you could have this around as a house malt whiskey, this will do fine. It's not going to change your world or anything again, but unless you really like these sort of super duper tall fancy bottles, which are going to be a bear to fit into a cabinet somewhere. But yeah, this one's okay. Let's add some water. Come back. Try these again. 3. Okay. Okay. I think I can guess who's going to win this flight. But we have to do the work. We have to put some scores on these. Let's do it. Back to the, what is this called? Trutina? Yeah, Trutina. Okay. Yeah, this one's a bummer. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It gives me no joy to kind of trash things on this channel. It really doesn't. I don't like doing it, but like this one, when I add water, the nose, some of the things I was enjoying, like the fruitiness, actually recedes a little bit, so it really just smells like a little bit of apple pear mash off in the distance somewhere, and then the rest is, raw potatoes mixed up with cream of wheat. That's kind of what I'm smelling. I think I like this nose better neat, and I didn't like the nose on this neat. Oh man, I'm going to have to show off my recipe for whiskey stew sometime because, well, not just like spirit stew. Let's put it that way, because that is my way to be done with bottles that don't even make it up to the level of cocktail duty. And I can tell you right now, this is probably in for stew duty. On the palate. Oh, there's some black pepper coming out. It's not a, it's not truly awful and hateful. I mean, those of us, like myself, who use the 100-point scale, we often get criticized for kind of really only sticking to the top, 20-odd points or so. And so you're like, well, why don't you just use a 20-point scale, though? And those kinds of criticisms. And my response is usually you need to spend more time in the crappier side of the liquor store. Go try Fireball again sometime. There are some spirits out there that actively hate you and wish you harm. And then the ones that are just bad and boring, and then the ones that are kind of okay in some ways but have off notes. This is one of those. On the palate, the finish is not too bad. Like some of the flowers and fruity things are kind of sticking around, and that peppery thing is not too bad. It's actually got decent form to it. It's just it tastes immature. This is raw stuff. By new make standards, not bad at all, but it needs more time. What I'm going to score this? I think it makes it above the 75 mark, but not very far. I'm going to give this 76 points. 76 points. And, yeah, it is what it is. Again, if y'all folks on the Speyside Distillery are watching, I'm sorry. I think you should have held on to this one. This is not ready to go out. This was not ready to go out. It bums me out to say that. Back to the Fumare. Let's see what this does with water. Gets more peppery. And actually a little bit more of a kind of a briny, sea salty thing, too. Yeah, this is... Again, I don't actually think this is that much older, but man, this is just... It's just a completely different, better whiskey. There's, again, a little bit of a green note coming through. It's not herbal. It's more like unripe fruit, like like the little white strawberries at the bottom of the bag that never quite reach maturity. Or even like almost a watermelon rind note. But imagine, in context of a peaty whiskey, and there's also some like, oatmeal with Caro in it at the same time. Oh, there's some cinnamon coming out. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Nice. On the palate. I really have nothing to complain about with this. It's got peat. It's got vanilla, cask influence. It's yum. No one's going to complain about this. This is not, it's not going to set any hearts on fire, but This works. There's a little bit of the apple pear mash thing coming out now, which is not bad. It's kind of working. Jesus. It's working pretty well in tandem with the twiggy peaty thing. I like this. It does feel a little bit anonymous, but this is perfectly fine. And for the price, which again I don't think was very much, probably worth a grab. I'm going to call this an 84 pointer. 84 points for the Spey Fumare. And thank you for our video. 76 points for the Trutina. That's rough, but the video is saved by this Fumare, which is considerably better. You see a good price on this, and you like peaty vanilla-y whiskey, go absolutely seek this out. 84 points. Thanks for watching, and cheers.